If you feel the urge to explain yourself, stop. That urge isn't strength. It's control leaving your hands. The strongest move you'll ever make is refusing to defend who you already know you are. When you defend yourself, you believe you are protecting your name, your intentions, your truth. But what actually happens in that moment is far more subtle and far more damaging. The second you start explaining, justifying, or correcting someone who has accused you, you silently agree to their frame. You accept their authority to question you. You step into a position where you are no longer standing on your own ground, but reacting on theirs. Control shifts instantly, not because they are right, but because you chose to respond within their narrative instead of remaining anchored in your own. The person accusing you may not be searching for truth at all. Often, they are searching for leverage. They want to see you move, react, stumble, or over-explain. Defensiveness gives them exactly what they need. It tells them they have touched something sensitive. It signals that their words have power over your emotional state. From that moment on, they are no longer speaking to understand you. They are speaking to steer you. Each explanation you offer becomes another handle they can grab, twist, or use against you later. Defending yourself also shifts the conversation away from facts and toward emotions. Once you start reacting, the discussion is no longer about what is true, but about how convincing you sound. Your calm becomes suspicious, your urgency becomes guilt, your clarity becomes manipulation. You are no longer evaluated by your actions over time, but by how well you perform under pressure. This is an impossible position because truth does not need to perform. Only insecurity does. There is also a hidden power dynamic at play. When someone accuses and you defend, the roles are immediately assigned. They become the judge, and you become the defendant. Judges ask questions. Defendants answer. Judges interrupt. Defendants explain. Judges decide when enough is enough. The moment you accept this structure, you surrender equality. Even if the accusation is false, even if it is unfair, the very act of defending locks you into a lower position where your worth is being measured by someone else's standards. People who seek control understand this instinctively. They provoke defensiveness not to gain clarity, but to establish dominance. They ask loaded questions, make vague accusations, or imply intentions you never had. When you rush to correct them, they learn exactly how to control you in the future. They learn which buttons to press, which fears to trigger, and which explanations drain your energy. Over time, you train them to keep accusing because it consistently puts them in charge. Defending yourself repeatedly also weakens your credibility. This may sound counterintuitive, but confidence is quiet. People who are secure in who they are do not feel compelled to narrate their innocence. They allow patterns, consistency, and time to speak on their behalf. When you over-explain, you appear uncertain, as if you need permission to be believed. Observers sense this imbalance. Even those who might have trusted you begin to wonder why you feel the need to work so hard to convince. There is another cost that often goes unnoticed. Each time you defend yourself, you spend emotional energy trying to manage someone else's perception. You replay conversations, refine explanations, and imagine better responses. Your focus moves outward instead of inward. Instead of acting from principle, you begin acting from fear of misunderstanding. This slow erosion of self-trust is how people lose their center. They become reactive, hyper-aware, and dependent on external validation to feel at peace. Not every accusation deserves a response, and not every misunderstanding requires clarification. Some people are committed to misunderstanding you because it serves them. When you defend yourself in these situations, you are not resolving conflict, you are feeding it. You keep the interaction alive, you keep the power exchange active. Silence, on the other hand, removes the fuel. It denies the accuser the reaction they were counting on and forces the situation to stand on its own. This does not mean you never speak. It means you choose when and why you speak. There is a difference between defending yourself and stating your position once calmly, without emotion, and without attachment to being believed. Defense is driven by urgency. Authority is driven by certainty. When you feel no need to persuade, argue, or chase understanding, you communicate strength without effort. Control returns to you the moment you stop reacting. When you refuse to defend, you quietly reclaim your position. You stop playing the role of the accused and return to being the observer. The dynamic shifts. The person who wanted to control the narrative now has to sit with their own assumptions. Without your participation, their accusations lose momentum. What once felt powerful becomes hollow. Over time, people learn how to treat you by what you tolerate and how you respond. If every accusation is met with explanation, people learn they can access you through pressure. If accusations are met with calm presence and consistent behavior, people learn that manipulation does not work. This is not about pride. It is about self-respect. You are not withholding truth. You are refusing to hand it to someone who has not earned it. When you stop defending yourself, something unexpected happens internally. Your nervous system settles. You stop rehearsing conversations that never needed to happen. You become less concerned with image and more committed to integrity. Your actions become simpler, cleaner, and more aligned. You no longer need to convince people of who you are because you are too busy being it. Those who matter will observe you over time. They will notice your consistency, your boundaries, and your calm under pressure. They will not need explanations because evidence speaks without words. And those who do not matter will eventually move on, frustrated by their inability to provoke you. Power is not loud. It does not argue. It does not chase understanding. It stands still and lets everything else reveal itself. Silence and consistency are uncomfortable for people who rely on reaction to feel powerful. When you stop explaining yourself and instead remain steady in your behavior, you remove the noise that others use to distort the truth. Words can be twisted, intentions can be questioned, and explanations can be reframed, but consistent action over time is difficult to argue with. Silence paired with consistency creates a kind of clarity that no argument can match. Most people believe truth is proven through talking. They think the more clearly they explain, the more likely they are to be understood. But understanding is not always the goal of the listener. Many people listen only to respond, to challenge, or to gain advantage. In those moments, your words are not being received, they are being scanned for weakness. Silence interrupts that process. It offers nothing to grab onto, nothing to twist, nothing to misuse. Consistency is what gives silence its weight. Silence alone can be misinterpreted, but when your behavior remains predictable, ethical, and aligned with your values, patterns begin to form. Patterns speak louder than defense ever could. People may question a single moment, but they cannot easily dismiss a repeated way of being. Over time, your actions create a reputation that does not depend on explanation. There is a deep psychological effect at work here. When someone accuses you and you respond with calm silence and unchanged behavior, it creates cognitive dissonance. They expect justification, emotion, or collapse. Instead, they are met with steadiness. This forces them to confront the possibility that their assumptions may be wrong. Even if they never admit it, the doubt settles in. Silence plants questions where arguments only harden positions. Consistency also protects your energy. When you stop defending yourself verbally, you conserve emotional resources. You are no longer rehearsing speeches in your head or reliving confrontations. Your focus shifts to what you can control: your choices, your conduct, your standards. This inward focus strengthens self-trust. You begin to rely less on how others perceive you and more on how you live. People who value truth watch more than they listen. They observe how you show up under pressure, how you treat others when no one is watching, how your actions align with your words across time. These observers do not need you to convince them. They are gathering information quietly. Silence gives them space to see clearly without being influenced by emotional displays or defensive narratives. Those who seek to provoke you often grow restless when met with silence. Without reaction, their accusations lose purpose. Without emotional feedback, their words fall flat. Consistency exposes their intentions. If they continue to accuse despite evidence to the contrary, others begin to see the imbalance. Silence does not defend you directly, but it allows others to notice who is stable and who is not. There is also dignity in restraint. When you refuse to argue about your character, you communicate that your identity is not up for debate. This does not require arrogance or coldness. It requires self-assurance. You are not withholding information to punish others. You are choosing not to perform for approval. This quiet confidence often earns more respect than the most articulate defense. Consistency creates predictability, and predictability builds trust. When people know what to expect from you, they feel grounded around you. Your silence is no longer interpreted as avoidance, but as maturity. You become someone whose presence is calming rather than chaotic. In a world driven by reaction and outrage, this steadiness stands out. Silence also gives you leverage in conversations that truly matter. When you speak less overall, your words carry more weight when you do choose to speak. You are no longer background noise. You are intentional. People listen differently when they know you do not speak impulsively. Consistency ensures that when you finally state something, it aligns with what others have already observed. Many misunderstandings resolve themselves without your involvement when you stay consistent. Rumors fade when they are not fed. Accusations lose credibility when they are not reinforced by reactive behavior. Silence allows time to do its work. Time reveals patterns. Time exposes motives. Time separates truth from emotion. Internally, silence strengthens your emotional discipline. You learn to tolerate discomfort without immediately trying to fix it with words. This builds resilience. You become less afraid of being misunderstood because you trust the long arc of your behavior. You no longer need immediate validation. Peace becomes less dependent on external agreement. Consistency also simplifies your life. When your values are clear, decisions become easier. You do not need to adjust your behavior to manage perceptions. Act the same whether you are praised, criticized, or ignored. This alignment reduces inner conflict. You stop fragmenting yourself to fit different narratives. Over time, silence and consistency reshape how people approach you. Some will step back, realizing manipulation no longer works. Others will lean in, drawn by the stability you represent. Either way, clarity increases. Relationships become more honest because they are no longer driven by emotional negotiation. Truth does not demand attention. It endures. When you allow silence and consistency to speak for you, you stop fighting for your image and start embodying it. You become less reactive, more grounded, and harder to shake. The need to be believed fades because your life quietly demonstrates what words never could: